Nic Nemeth is a double champion in TNA. Nic and Ryan Nemeth defeated Matt and Jeff Hardy in the main event of TNA Lockdown. And Nic Nemeth is now not only the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, he is also one half of the TNA World Tag Team Champions. But maybe not for long, because at the conclusion of the main event, Leon Slater, the new X Division champion, came out and told the crowd that he was going to be cashing in, or excuse me, exercising option C and challenging Nic Nemeth for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Bound for Glory. Our path is set. Is this what we want? That's what we're going to have to figure out. I'm not going to lie. I think this is actually the best possible path they could be taking. It's exciting. We're getting a new young star who is a TNA guy that we've seen grow here as TNA fans, as people who watch TNA, and he's even crossed over into WWE a few times. And there is no better guy that they could be featuring to be put in the up next category. There's not a better person in TNA who could be chasing the world title right now than Leon Slater. So that is a great way to come out of this show and move forward. How did the rest of the show go? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about everything right now. This is your TNA Lockdown review. TBP starts now. Welcome to the Talk About Podcast. I'm your host, TW. Listen, I know you have so many choices for your entertainment. So whoever you are and wherever you may be, thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day here with me. Listen, real quick before we get started, do your boy a favor. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. Hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you may be listening to this on. You can be listening on Spotify, you could be listening on YouTube, you could be listening on Apple Music. If you are listening on any of those platforms, please feel free to drop a comment, leave a review, rate, you know what I mean? Say something nice about your boy. And most importantly, tell a friend to tell a friend. Share this with somebody else who might enjoy consuming this content. All right, let's get into it. TNA Lockdown returned for the first time in a long time. And guys, this show has been going because TNA just did not have a cage. Okay? TNA didn't have a cage. And so they couldn't do cage matches. They couldn't do shows that features cage matches because they didn't have a cage. Okay? But they got some new money. They got some AMC money. They got some touring gate money. All right? Maybe Anthem turned on the money faucet just a little bit. And now they got a cage. Let's go. All right. TNA got a cage. And so now, not only are we going to get a cage match, we got a whole show full of cage matches. Let's go. Come on, listen, talk about it. We gonna listen, when you got a chance to do something special, you gotta take advantage and do something special. And what's more special than one cage match? 10 cage matches, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Nah, listen, I'm joking. I'm joking because I don't love the idea of doing a show where every single match is in a steel cage. My thought is like this. Look, if everybody had a if everybody had a steel cage match, nobody had a steel cage match, right? Because it takes away the novelty of it. Even if you were going to do multiple cage matches on the show, right? Like, let's say maybe your main event world title match and your lethal lockdown match, or one big grudge match, maybe the knockouts title match and the world title match and your lethal lockdown match. Do something to space it out so that it feels special. It feels special when the cage comes down. It feels special seeing the matches that aren't inside the cage versus the matches that are inside the cage. I think, you can kind of run a concept into a ground. Now, that said, I don't think that happened tonight. I gotta be honest with you. I don't think that happened tonight. Every single match on this show was inside a steel cage, and every single match gave us something that felt a little bit different. Give it up. Give it up. Listen, you got to give a big shout out to these performers, because if you know you're going into a show where all the matches are going to be presented in a similar way, that's a lot of pressure, right? To come up with a match that feels fun, feels creative, and makes the audience feel like they're just not watching the same thing over and over and over again. And I think they definitely nailed that tonight. So shout out to everybody on the TNA roster for giving us a good show. So let's start with the pre-show. Pre-show had a couple of matches that were not as featured on Impact coming up. Excuse me, a couple of feuds, a couple of stories that were, a little bit lower on the card, not as hugely consequential, to everything that we're seeing going forward. And they kind of got those out of the way. Those were without a steel cage. Now, I do like that because, like I just mentioned, I like not having so much sameness throughout the whole show, right? So on the pre-show, we got the Righteous, Vincent and Dutch against BDE and Rich Swann. BDE and Rich Swann, I like them as a tag team. Rich Swann is a great wrestler, and he's also got this weird kind of chameleon ability to he can team with anybody and fit right in. When he was in a tag team with AJ Francis, he fit right in. He's tag teaming now with BDE, who's been wrestling for like a year or something, like very, very new to wrestling, and he fits right in. And, I think also is also a really great way to bring BDE along and, let him learn the game, right? Swann's been around the block. He's done it all twice. And, that's a great partnership for them to, for that guy's development. Now, the Righteous got the win over those two guys. The Righteous' whole gimmick is we're a cult and we're going to try to beat you and bring you into our cult. We'll see where that goes going forward. We got a backstage segment after that with the System, which was Alicia Edwards, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and Cedric Alexander previewing their match in the Lethal Lockdown. Their whole thing that the System is doing is they're the gatekeepers. TNA is in a phase right now where they are similar to WWE. They're introducing a lot of new talent. They're introducing new talent and they're building up new talent. If you've been watching Impact the past couple of weeks, if you haven't, don't worry about it. I got you. Ricky Sosa is a big name talent they signed off the Indies. He has a really fun entrance. And rather than just bringing him in and, doing a match with him and then, shuffling him down the card, he's been featured very prominently on the show. They've been putting him at big spots, like near the top of the show. They've been featuring him in programs next to Leon Slater. Like, I love that, right? You put him in next to a guy who you clearly have very big plans for. We'll talk about that more as the review goes on. But Ricky Sosa has been a big deal. They got him. They got Fabian Eichner, the former Giovanni Vinci, who, WWE did nothing with. And who else was on their team? Jada Stone, who's in the finals of the TNA Knockouts TV tournament. And they got one more guy. Why am I forgetting who that guy is? I don't know. We'll talk about it later. But next on the pre-show, we had Trey Miguel going against Agent Zero, Special Agent Zero, who from Order 4, who is a big guy who I hadn't seen before. He looks like he's been around for a little bit. We just haven't seen him, on any sort of national programs. He serves as Mustafa Ali's muscle in Order 4, and he is undefeated so far in TNA. We got Trey Miguel debuting a new Spider-Man themed entrance. They kind of call Trey Miguel Spider Trey for the way he moves in the ring. He does a lot of stuff really, just very agile, right? Very agile, lots of flips and slides and destroyers, and like the man, you got it. Trey Miguel is one of those people you gotta see to believe. I can describe the things he does to you, or like I could tell you he ran across the ring, slid out on his knees, and caught somebody in a destroyer after that. But you gotta see it. You gotta see it. You know what I mean? Trey Miguel is dope, and the way he moves, gives him this Spider-Man theme. And so he built his entrance. He's got a new entrance that he came out kind of featuring the new Spider-Man theme. There's a new Spider-Man movie out, and they're just capitalizing off all that. Give those guys credit for, the new display. Trey Miguel got the win here. This was actually Special Agent Zero's first loss ever in TNA. And so good for Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel should be winning. He's always one of the guys who feels like a pillar of TNA, right? He's great in the ring. He's a passionate promo. He's familiar to the audience because he's been with TNA for so many years. Like, he's one of your cornerstone guys that you need, kind of like an Eddie Edwards, who's just always there for the fans. He's a TNA guy. So you want to see Eddie Edwards getting wins in big spots. That's good for the brand. All right, so then we got started with the main show. First match was AJ Francis versus Elijah. They called this the final encore. The story that these two have been telling is just a lot of back and forth, right? They had one match at, was it Slammiversary? They had one before Slammiversary. This is their third pay-per-view match. And Elias had won. Is it Elias? I call him Elias. Sorry, Elijah. Elijah had won the previous two. And it made me look at him and say, it looks like they're setting him up for something big, like a world title run. I don't really see him as a guy that you can really build a show around, but he's a good guy to have on your show, right? Like, he looks like an imposing dude. He's a big guy. He's got the guitar gimmick. Like, he's solid. He's just not I'm not going on my way to watch an Elijah match. I'm not going on my way to watch an Elijah segment. If you tell me that Elijah's doing something, I'm like, all right, cool. I'll catch it later. Maybe, right? Like, he just doesn't move me in that way. AJ Francis, though, is almost kind of the opposite, right? This dude is in the best shape of his career. Should not be able to move as well as he does for his size, right? Like, super athletic. He does flying moves. Like, you know what I mean? Dude can talk. He's an amazing, great heel. AJ Francis is really a cornerstone of TNA. Like, I mean, you can put him with anybody. He makes anybody look good. All the good guys they put him with, he builds them up. And, like, he's one of the guys who you build your whole, maybe not your whole show around, right? But he's one of the guys who you can always use to make everybody else look better. And that's what they've been using him at, and he's absolutely great at it. So this was the final encore, right? They had the two previous matches. Elijah won the two previous matches, which made me wonder, why are they even having a third match? And I think I know why once we see what happens later in the show. But AJ Francis got the win. He had his hype man, what was his name? Oh, God, what is this dude's name? He brought out a hype man at, I think it was Slammiversary. And I'm searching for this guy's name. Sorry. I'm searching for this guy's name, and I'm trying to think what this guy's name was. He was very good, though, man. He was very good. So this guy's name is Expressions. Yes, there we go. Expressions. Come on, dummy. Got it. All right. He had a hype man named Expressions. I don't know if this guy was like a comedian, a social media influencer, whatever he does outside of TNA. He was a natural. Like, when he stepped on the stage, he was in almost like a Stokely Hathaway type of role, where he just, talking junk, talking trash, antagonizing people, getting people riled up, being, a heater for AJ Francis, who doesn't need a heater because he's already a heater himself. Expressions had been gone since Slammiversary because I think Elijah hit him with the guitar or whatever it was, but Expressions had been gone. So Expressions returned during this match in a wheelchair and, cause a distraction, help AJ Francis get the win. So AJ Francis comes out of this victorious. After the match, Hometown Man came down and slid Elijah his guitar, and Elijah jumped off the top rope and hit AJ Francis over the head with a guitar. Fine. So clearly, even though Elijah lost this match, they wanted him to come out of this looking strong. I'm fine with that. I'm a big fan of AJ Francis, and I think he should be winning. He should be featured prominently on the show. He's got to win sometimes, right? He's got to win sometimes. I don't believe heels need to win, because their whole job is to put the good guys in danger. But if they never win, they can't put the good guys in danger. Hello. All right, up next, we had the TNA Knockouts Tag Team title match. Now, this match was the Elegance brand, Heather and M by Elegance. Shout out to Mimi, called him Shiba Sheree. I always laugh when I think about that. That was good. But Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance, the Elegance brand, were challenging against was supposed to be Allie and Rosemary. But Rosemary just disappeared off TV a couple of weeks ago. Allie's been walking around looking for her, and she had this tag team title defense that she had to do. So Allie had to go find a tag team partner. She comes out for the match, and she's revealed that her tag team partner is the returning Kiera Hogan. Kiera Hogan was in TNA for a long time. She was, I think, a two-time TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champion alongside Tasha Steelz as Fire and Flavor. That was a really good tag team. But Kiera Hogan took her talents to AEW, and now she's back. So Kiera Hogan joined Allie, and they took on the Elegance brand in a tag team title match. Kiera Hogan and Allie win, and I guess Kiera Hogan and Allie are now the tag team champions. I'm a little bit confused by this because what happened to Rosemary? What happened to Rosemary? They have not indicated that Rosemary is coming back. I haven't seen anything on the news sheets that Rosemary is like legitimately hurt. If this was just a way to bring Kiera Hogan back, I feel like you could have found a better way to do it. Because as a fan, as a viewer, I'm left confused. This was a fine way to reintroduce Kiera Hogan, I guess. You put her in a big spot. She's a tag team champion. I guess at some point Rosemary is going to come back, and then they're going to have to get that all hashed out. All right. Up next, we had Moose versus Frankie Kazarian in an Escape the Cage match. Now, this was a match that sometimes in wrestling, you get the bump into each other in the hallway, and you want to fight? Let's fight. You get that sometimes in wrestling, and that's exactly what this was. Out of nowhere on Impact a couple of weeks ago, Moose is talking about, I'm the face of the franchise. Kazarian is talking about, I'm the king of TNA. They're like, oh, well, let's fight inside a steel cage and figure it out. All right, cool. You got it. All right. I don't know what else to say about that. The match was good. You got two guys who can work, two guys who can wrestle. Moose did a crazy Spanish fly on Kazarian off the top of the cage, which was crazy. Again, Moose is another guy. He's a former NFL player. Listen, as a big brother myself, I gotta tell you, sometimes y'all be sleeping on the athleticism of some of these big brothers. Some big dudes, right, can't move. But a lot of us really can. Give it up for the big boys that can move, okay? Don't let the fat fool you, baby. Okay, it's muscle under here. It's muscle under here. Am I taking this personal? Am I talking about me? Maybe I am. But shout out to Moose. He always does stuff that he does not look like he should be able to do, but he smoked that. Listen, as much as Moose is not like a main event caliber star, he does have good matches. Similar to AJ Francis, right? These are two guys who always go in there and deliver. Like you don't see bad Moose matches. I think Moose works a style that's not really, fit for someone as big as he is. I think he's just be kind of mauling people, kind of like an Obafemi. I don't think he should be doing as much flippity floppity fly stuff, but he can do it, so he does it. Kazarian escaped the cage when Moose, I think, speared him and he fell through the cage. So it was kind of a cheap way for him to get out and get the victory, but Kazarian got the win. Up next, we had the TNA Knockouts World Title match between Elena Black and Xia Brookside. Now, this I thought was interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I thought this was Elena Black's moment. This was, in Chicago. She has been positioned as someone who's like a big star, and that's kind of been the way that she's handled herself, right? Like her whole thing has been, hey, I'm from NXT. I'm a bigger star than everybody. And it just kind of felt inevitable that they would put the Knockouts title on her eventually. And I thought that's what was going to happen here. I'm not going to lie. And I'm pleasantly surprised to say that's not what they did. They did do something that confused me a little bit. It felt like they kind of had Elena Black working as the babyface about halfway through this match. And when you have somebody build their whole kind of personality around, hey, I'm better than everybody, you can't just turn them into the babyface in the middle of a match. So, again, as somebody who's been watching the show, that part felt a little bit confusing. But the match itself was solid. I think Xia Brookside is a solid wrestler. She's fine. Nothing too special. But her getting the win here was huge. And I'm going to tell you why. You have to build characters. You got to build characters. The big reason why we don't think Xia Brookside is a big deal is because we haven't seen her beat anybody. This is a TV show, okay? We the audience will believe what you tell us to believe. If you show us that Xia Brookside can beat everybody, then we'll look at Xia Brookside and we'll think she can beat everybody. That's the way that works. And it doesn't work if as soon as you get somebody who shows up from NXT, you let them just walk to the front of the line and become the Knockouts champion. Xia Brookside won this championship over Lei Ying Lee a couple of weeks ago, and it felt like a weird kind of thing, right? It felt like they were finally building up a good story with Lei Ying Lee. She had won the title, Xia Brookside betrayed her, and she fought to get it back, and then they had Xia Brookside beat her for the title. That felt weird to me, right? It felt like they kind of cut off Lei Ying Lee's story before it got started. And that's fine, but now that you got the title on Xia Brookside, you gotta roll with it. This is how they built up JC Jane in NXT, right? They needed to get Stephanie Vaquer up to the main roster. They had JC Jane get the surprise win on her, and then they had JC Jane have a long title run. And where we started off calling her the most beatable NXT Women's Champion ever, by the time she finished, we called her a legend. Okay? And that doesn't happen unless you beat people. You gotta beat people. So what I would say to TNA is, listen, you got Xia Brookside on a roll. Let her keep rolling. She's got to keep rolling. She's got to keep beating the ex-NXT stars. There is a whole wave of releases that are recently becoming available now. Do not take that title off Xia Brookside. Build up Xia Brookside. Because if you build up Xia Brookside, you're also building up some equity in the Knockouts division, right? And you're building up some equity in Xia Brookside, right? Like, give your fans something that they recognize, right? Like, you can still, let's say that, someone else becomes available who was recently released from NXT. Fine, bring them in, build them up, but they should still lose to your champ. If you're building up your champ, you're building up your brand, they can't just lay down for anybody who's an outsider. Because ultimately what that says to the fans is that your brand is not as good as WWE, which we all know it's not. But the point is, you're not supposed to feel that way, right? And you're not supposed to make your fans feel that way. So I was glad to see Xia Brookside get this win. It was a surprise, but I like actually building up a star. Build up a star into something that she wasn't before, right? Let us watch her become a big star. Like, I'm a big fan of that. So that's a smart move. I love it. Don't turn around and take the title off of her for something weird, or they showed Indy Hartwell in the backstage area watching the match. Indy Hartwell, listen, she can wrestle, okay, but for personality, I have not seen anything from Indy Hartwell that is remotely interesting, right? I haven't. And they're going to have to do something with Indy Hartwell to make her feel interesting. But right now, you actually are making Xia Brookside feel interesting. So I would say keep going with that instead of trying to restart and build up Indy Hartwell. All right, up next, we had the TNA International Championship. Jason Hotch defending against the challenger, Mustafa Ali. And this was good. So TNA is building up Jason Hodge, right? And he's a guy who was just in the background for a couple of years as a tag team with John Schuyler, the Good Hands, and then as part of Order 4, basically serving as goons for Mustafa Ali. Jason Hodge recently got a shot at Ali's championship. Ali didn't take him seriously. Jason Hodge defeated Ali. Then Ali has been a madman, just kind of going crazy, harassing Jason Hodge, harassing his family to try and get his title back. And so that led us to this match at Lockdown, and Ali got the title back. All right. You gave Hodge the title for a couple of weeks. Ali won it back at the pay-per-view. And you know what? I don't hate that. I don't hate that because Mustafa Ali is another one of those guys. As far as talking, as far as wrestling, as far as gimmick, he might be the best all-around talent in TNA. You can't tell me somebody in TNA who is better all around than Mustafa Ali. Like, this guy has everything top to bottom. He should be carrying one of your titles. He's one of the guys who makes things feel important. And when you put people around him, he makes them feel important, right? Just like they took Mila Moore. They put her in his group. Now she feels more important, right? Tasha Steelz, very accomplished as a knockout, but if you're not doing anything with her as far as putting her in the Knockouts title picture, having her in a group where she can have some sort of friction with Ali and his group, I think that's a great spot for Tasha Steelz because she steals, no pun intended, every scene that she's in. So I'm cool with the short run for Jason Hodge. Ali is a guy who should have a title in TNA. So Mustafa Ali is the new international champion, and we'll see where that goes. We got a big announcement. We got Avery Styles, who made headlines recently for some wrong reasons, which was being at an independent show and not helping, pay his dues by setting up the ring and rubbing some veterans the wrong way. Well, far be it from TNA to not capitalize on that momentum and have him come out and announce that he is now signing with TNA. And I gotta say, I like this move. I'm a big fan of this move, and I'm gonna tell you why. I like the idea of wrestlers who have some sort of tie-in or legacy having to build their own brand. But if you look on NXT, they have a lot of guys and girls who are second generation stars, and a lot of times that doesn't work, right? Look at like Lexis King, right? He doesn't want to be Flying Brian Jr. He's Lexis King, and it's all right, right? Like it's all right. Whereas on the other hand, you look at, we're in like season 9 of the Bloodline, and people are like, "Give me more." Okay, Anu Samoan shows up in WWE every 3 months, and people go crazy for it. So you know what? If you're TNA, yes, capitalize on this. And when this guy came out, they had the AJ Styles logo up in the big jumbotron, and you can see a lot of like the AJ Styles mannerisms in this guy. You can also see that he's very brand new, right? Like, he's learning how to cut promos. He's learning to do all that stuff. But guess what? When AJ Styles started, he was brand new, just like his son. So I love the idea that TNA is going to get this guy, going to develop him, and hopefully he blossoms into a big star. So Avery Styles announcing that he's signed with TNA. Of course, Frankie Kazarian comes out and gets in his face, and just kind of quote unquote cuts a warning to Avery Styles, which is again showing us that he's going to be working with Kazarian. Listen, this is great, right? Like, Kazarian and AJ Styles were two of the TNA originals from back in the day. I love the idea of putting AJ's son in a program working with one of AJ's, contemporaries, right? To help guide him along and, develop him before he goes on to work with other people. All right, up next, we had what I would say was one of the pivotal moments probably, I don't know if you would call this a co-main event, but what I would call this is probably the best built story on this show. We had Cedric Alexander defending the X Division Championship against Leon Slater in a last man standing match. Now, if you guys remember, Leon Slater was approaching the longest reigning X Division championship run of all time. Cedric Alexander defeated Leon Slater when he was, I think, 1 day short of claiming the record for being the longest reigning all-time X Division champion. And Cedric Alexander has been nothing but a menace, just antagonizing Leon Slater, telling him he was never going to get another shot, that he was going to erase Leon Slater's record forever. And that was actually the stipulation during this match. It was title versus record. And if Leon Slater won, then he would be the new X Division champion. If Cedric Alexander won, then the stipulation was that Leon Slater's almost record-breaking X Division title reign would be erased from the TNA record books forever. This was a banger, as I'm sure you would expect. In the end, Leon Slater hit Cedric Alexander with, I think, 3 lumbar checks in a row, and then hit him with the Swanton 450. Cedric Alexander could not answer the 10 count. Leon Slater is your new X Division champion. Give it up, give it up, give it up for the boy Cedric Alexander. Give it up for the boy Leon Slater. Give it up for Cedric Alexander too, because Leon Slater is clearly a guy that TNA has big plans for. And so if they put you in a program working with a guy who's supposed to be a star, there's a lot of responsibility in making that guy feel like a big star. And Cedric Alexander hit that one out of the park. Give it up for the boy, Prime Alexander. All right, backstage, we had Daria Ray on the phone. She's talking to somebody. It was one of those things, right, where they peek around the corner, you see her on the phone, and she's saying to somebody, yeah, I'll see you Thursday, right? So it's supposed to be like a little hook, like who is she talking to, and who's coming to the show, who's going to be popping up Thursday. And then they see Elijah laid out in the background. Now, to me, this is an indication that somebody new is on the way to show up. I remember years ago when we first saw Killer Cross pop up on TNA TV, they debuted him in a very similar way. People would just be laid out backstage, and then we started finding people with a card that had a little X on it, right? The X would be for Cross. And so somebody's coming, right? Somebody's coming. We're going to find out who is responsible for all of these people getting laid out backstage. All right, it was time for the Lethal Lockdown match. It was the System, Bear Bronson, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, and Alicia Edwards versus Fabian Eichner, Casey Navarro, Ricky Sosa, and Jada Stone. This was, I gotta say, when they put this match together, this was one of those moments where I was like, man, this is like so random. So random. Like, okay, Ricky Sosa had been feuding with the System. First, he was feuding with Eric Young. And the thing that has been a theme with people going against Ricky Sosa is, hey, you're just a guy with a viral entrance. You're a guy who has the bang, bang, Sosa, which is fire. Give it up, give it up. But that seems to be the thing that's making all these guys in TNA hate on him. So the System has been going against Ricky Sosa, trying to hold him down, trying to stop him from getting his shine. And it had been Sosa and Cedric Alexander. I keep saying Cedric Alexander. Leon Slater fighting against the System, because Leon Slater had that beef with Cedric Alexander, who is also a member of the System. So that led us to this Lethal Lockdown match. How Alicia Edwards and Jada Stone ended up in there. Really, again, another one of those random things, right? Like, one day, Jada Stone is backstage cutting a promo. Alicia Edwards just walks up and like, I'm sick of you. I'm tired of you. And now all of a sudden, we're all in the match together. Cool. You got it. And so the Lethal Lockdown match is kind of like their vision of War Games, right? Their version of War Games. Imagine War Games with one ring and one cage, right? People enter in intervals every couple of minutes. Then once both teams are in, they lower a top onto the cage, and the top on the cage has weapons. So that adds another little element to it. And then you get, people inside the cage beating the dog crap out of each other with kendo sticks and trash can lids, trash cans, chairs, and just all the goodies that you could ever imagine. And it's a mess, but it's a fun mess to watch. And in the end, we got Eddie Edwards giving a package pile driver to Ricky Sosa through the chair to secure the pinfall. The System, Bear Bronson, Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, and Alicia Edwards defeated Fabian Eichner, Casey Navarro, Ricky Sosa, and Jado Stone. Again, that was fun. It was, a big mess to watch. We got an announcement for Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory is going to be Sunday, October 11th in Tampa, Florida. And you'll see the 2026 TNA Wrestling Hall of Fame ceremony. Destination X will be live Sunday, November 5th in Edmonton, Canada. Destination X has a big meaning this year. And as we talked about earlier in the show, excuse me, sorry. As we talked about earlier in the show, because of what happened at the end of the show, Destination X takes on a whole new meaning. I'm very interested to see how they're going to build that and put that together. All right. It was time for our main event. It was the TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, defending against Nic and Ryan Nemeth. Again, Nic Nemeth is your TNA World Champion. So the fact that Nic Nemeth is the TNA World Champion kind of made you say, why would they give him also the tag team titles, right? Like, it felt like it was kind of giving away the finish in advance. It made sense why the Hardys were in this match, because the Hardys are the biggest, most popular act in TNA. It makes sense to put them in the main event. It makes sense to feature them wherever possible. They get the biggest pop of anybody on the show. And even though they've been wrestling for what feels like my whole life, they still put on good matches. They still go out there and they play the hits, right? Matt Hardy does the side effect. Jeff Hardy climbs to the top, takes off his shirt, and does the swanton. Everybody cheers, and it's a good time. Their original music from like 1996 or whatever, when they debuted in WWE, that music actually is not licensed by WWE, so they use that same music, and that music still hits. That music gets a pop, huge pop, every single time. So it made sense why the Hardys would be in this match. The thing that I thought didn't make sense is, again, Nic Nemeth as your world champion. He needs some sort of direction other than being in a tag team match. That part didn't make sense. Well, it would make sense. So we get to the end of the match, and Nic Nemeth hits Matt Hardy with his Danger Zone finish, the zigzag, and he gets the pin, right? And everybody's like, what? And so now I gotta tell you, I gotta talk you through what I was thinking when I saw this. Okay, so I see the pin, right? I see the pin, and I'm like, I don't hate it. And you know why I don't hate it? Because I watch TNA Impact every week, and I enjoy it. And that there are some stories, as we've talked about throughout these past 30 minutes, there are some stories to each of these matches. But they needed some sort of a hook. What do I mean by a hook? A hook is something that keeps you coming back the following week, right? Like, as much as I might think that the bloodline stuff is exhausting, the way they start and end the shows, right? They start the show, oh, Roman Reigns is pulling up in the SUV, or, Jimmy and Jey Uso are here. What's going to happen this week that's going to lead us to the next chapter of As the Bloodline Turns? That's a hook, right? That's an overarching story that the whole show is built around. Friday nights on SmackDown, right? Like, whatever is Cody Rhodes doing? Who's he feuding with this week? This is, it's Cody and Randy right now, right? Like, the almost overarching story of SmackDown is, what's Cody doing until he gets back to the title match, right? Like, CM Punk is the champion. CM Punk gets a big pop, and he's a fine placeholder for the title. But, like, let's be honest. We know that it's all revolving around Cody and when that title is coming back to him. In TNA, they had not had that thing, and I thought it was especially weird that your world champion was in a tag team match as opposed to defending his title at a big event. But when when the Nemeths won this title, I said, aha, they're going to do something good. As much as I think that Nic Nemeth is a very good wrestler, just not a super duper star, I do find his character to be very annoying. And you know what? The Miz was also annoying, and The Miz is a 2 or 3 time WWE champion. You can take somebody like that and you can build, just like I said with Xia Brookside, right? If you're going to do a story, a long running story where Nic Nemeth is this annoying guy, but he keeps winning, him and his brother are just winning all the championships, and you hate them, you're annoyed by them, that can be a hook. I said, okay, this is cool. I like this. I don't mind this. This is cool. I had a tweet halfway written, and before I could hit send, they played Leon Slater's music. And I had mixed feelings about this because I was like, okay. I knew what was coming. He came down. He's holding the X Division Championship. I knew this was going to be, I'm not going to say cash in, right? Because cash in is like Money in the Bank where you run down and you get your title match right away, right? The way Option C works, for those of you who don't know, and it's on TNA to explain this to everybody and really make everybody understand this. But the concept of Option C, as I understand it, is that the X Division champion has the opportunity to relinquish the X Division championship for a guaranteed title match at some point. Now, it's not like a Money in the Bank where you can just run down at the end of the match and say, I'm cashing in Option C, and you start you just get your title shot right then, right there. It's like what Leon Slater did tonight. Leon Slater came down. He said, hey, I won this X Division title back. My X Division legacy is secure. So I'm going to do something new. At Bound for Glory, I'm challenging Nic Nemeth for the World Championship. I loved it. And also what you see is he announces that he's cashing in Option C, and he hands over the TNA X Division Championship to Carlos Silva. Silva. He hands over the TNA X Division Championship to Carlos Silva. So now the TNA X Division Championship is vacant. And so now we got to figure out how we're going to get us a new X Division champion. Love that. Why do I love that? Because that gives us TV going forward. It gives us some sort of plan going forward. All right. So that's what happened with Lockdown. That's how it went off the air with Leon Slater announcing that he's going to be challenging Nic Nemeth for the X Division Championship. Eventually. Okay. And the question is, how do we feel about it? I got to say, I like it. Overall, it was a good show. It was a fun show. It was an exciting show. And most importantly, it set us up with stories going forward, right? Stories that matter going forward. What's going to happen with the X Division title? Is Leon Slater going to win it? What's Nic Nemeth going to try to do to stop Leon Slater from winning it, right? Like, we got, Bound for Glory is, what do we say, October 11th? So it's, that's about 8 weeks from now. We're at like the beginning of September. So that's about, that's about 8 weeks from now. So that gives us, that's plenty of time, right? You guys got to build up the heat for this. And you got to do it in a way that's going to make people want to come out and watch this match. I would say, don't screw this up. Don't do a Mike Santana. Don't get everybody out here, looking for Leon Slater to win this title and decide you want to keep the chase going a little longer. Do the title change, but just build it up properly. Leon Slater is a star. People like him. He can talk. He can wrestle. He's a TNA guy. He's not he's not a guy that people recognize from WWE. He's a guy that people can look at going forward as a TNA guy. You need to pay him. You need to keep him for as long as you can. Of course, he's going to eventually end up in WWE, but you need to get him while you can and get a good run with him as your champion, as your flag bearer, right? Like, There's not a better person who could be in this position. I think Leon Slater is the right guy at the right time. And now they just gotta turn on all their marketing muscle. All right. They gotta turn on all the marketing muscle they have. They gotta get in the gym and build up some more marketing muscle and make us feel like Leon Slater is a big star. They've been positioning Leon Slater as the star of this show for the past few weeks. I've noticed that since Slammiversary. We've been getting a lot of things where they will start and end the show with Leon Slater, and they'll put him at the quarter hours, right? Like they'll either put him at 9 o'clock or at 10 o'clock, right? Like if you know anything about like TV and ratings, they take the ratings at the quarter hours. So the people who you see on shows at the top of the show and at the exact middle of the show, those are the people that they think are important and that they want you to see. If you're flipping channels at 9 o'clock on SmackDown, whoever is on there is somebody they think is important, right? It's somebody who they want you to see that they're building the show around, right? That's the way they've been treating Leon Slater. Leon Slater is absolutely ready for this moment, and now it's about giving us a fun ride to get where we're going. All right. I think as far as the rest of the crowd, right? Like, where are we going with the X Division Championship? That's a good. That's going to be a good story to tell going forward, right? We got Trey Miguel, we got Ricky Sosa, we got Jason Hotch, right? Like, there's a lot of guys who can be going after the X Division Championship. I think they had Uha Nation in a couple of weeks ago. Let's see if they bring him back. I think there's a lot of stories they could tell here, right? Like, again, and you got your pillars of the company, right? You got your AJ Francis, you got your Trey Miguel's, you got your Mustafa Ali, right? And what are we doing with the Knockouts title going forward? Keep building Xia Brookside. I think there's a lot in TNA that feels promising going forward. They lost some momentum, right, from where they were probably about, I would say, a year ago. But I think they're in a great position to get it all back. I think they're positioning young stars, new stars, things that feel fresh to the audience. And yeah, like I think they're in a position to give us something good. But I want to know what you guys think. All right. So wherever you're hearing this, whether it be on Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, whatever, right? Like, drop me a comment, drop me a question. Let me know what you think. How'd you feel about Slammiversary? Did you feel like, not Slammiversary. How'd you feel about Lockdown? Did you feel like the show was good? Was it entertaining? Do you like where the stories are going forward? Yeah, let me know. Talk to your boy. Tweet me. I tweet back. Speaking of Twitter, you can find me at Talking About Pod or at TW Talking About. Talking About Pod is probably better. It's, keep it show related. Again, you can follow me, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I'm on all the platforms. I'm on Threads. Tweet me. I tweet back. Talk to your boy. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed this, right? Like, I'm bad about podcasting frequently. I'll try to be, more consistent with you. And I'll try to drop more things that you enjoy. But, listen, tell a friend to tell a friend. Let's bring more people into the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Until next time, I'm TW. Peace.